All right, Shalom, this is your brother Shamar from the Phoenix camp. And with that being said, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakadash. Double honor to the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the brothers that are doing this work of truth and sincerity. We're going to jump right into lessons. This is 1 Chronicles 16 and 13. It says, O ye seed of Israel, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen ones. So that's the point of the lesson. The point of the lesson that the Most High has a chosen nation or group of people through bloodline. That's goes against the replacement theology that's taught by Christianity. Their goal is to do away with the word, man. Their goal is to do away with God's chosen people. Because in all reality, they could care less about the scriptures. I mean, they care about them to the point that they know that all the prophecies are pointed against them. When I say them, I'm talking about the elites of this world, the Edomites, so-called white man. They want to defy these prophecies. They want to make these prophecies null and void. They want to make the scripture null and void, and that's why they're so insistent on going against who they call the black Hebrew Israelites. We are not black. We are different shades of brown, and we even look like the other nations. So they wanna get rid of the Most High's chosen ones, man. They want to get rid of the Most High's. They want to null and void the Most High's covenant. Because if you read the scripture, the Most High made a covenant, an agreement with one particular nation. That nation being the nation of Israel. Israel being let's get the word Israel. See what it says. It says he will rule as Yahweh, a symbolic name of Jacob. Israel, God prevails, a second name for Jacob, given to him by God after wrestling with the angel of Peniel. So basically the definition here is just he will rule as Yahweh, because the nation of Israel, the people of Israel, where it also means prince of the power, Yasharallah. They are going to be the elected of the nation of Israel, the 144,000. They will be going to be set up to rule over the other nations, and the nation of Israel itself will be over all the other nations. So they're trying to null and void that. They're trying to cancel that agreement, that covenant that Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, had with that nation being the nation of Israel, was considered the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. They try to push what they call a replacement theology. So let's get a few more scriptures. There's Genesis 17 and 7. And this is the Most High speaking to Abraham. I'll start at verse 3. Genesis 17 and 3. It says, And Abraham fell on his face, and Yahweh talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee. Thou shalt be the father of many nations. Get the word many. A multitude of nations, or let's get the word nations. People. So it's not talking about all the nations or the heathens. It's talking about a people. It says, Neither shall thy name anymore be called Abram. Let's get the word Abram. It's all the father, but the name should be called Abraham, which means what? Father of the multitude, if I'm not mistaken. Salak. Yeah, father of the multitude. And as we continue on, you're going to see why he is called the father of the multitude. It says, But thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed. Descendants, see that? So it's talking about the bloodline descendants of our forefather Abraham. So that goes contrary, and that covenant is for generation to generation. That's an everlasting covenant. That's never that was never disannulled. You get the word seed. Let's see, seed, semen. See, so that's through the father's bloodline. It's talking about that, man. That's why there's genealogy in the scriptures. You look at you read you go off into the New Testament, the book of Matthew. It shows you the genealogy going all the way back to David, to Yahushua, showing that through the bloodline, because that's another thing. It speaks of reincarnation, and it speaks that Joseph is a bloodline physical father of who you call Jesus Christ. It says, "And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant to be a power unto thee and to thy seed." It's going to be the same word, descendants, after thee. It says, and I will slack you. It says, "And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee," see, descendants, bloodline, "the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, and I will be their power. And Yahweh said to Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant we shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man shall be among you shall be circumcised." Now there's a spiritual circumcision. There's a physical circumcision. That's a lesson. That's another lesson altogether. Because there's a scripture talking about a circumcision of your heart or your mind, but that's another lesson altogether. It said, "He that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generation. He that is born in the house or bought with money." Well, the point of it is, the point that I want to get out of this chapter is that it speaks about a covenant between the Most High and descendants, the bloodline of Abraham. Let's go back to verse 6. "And I will make thee exceeding fruitful." So how was that going to happen, man? Because basically what was going to happen is that the Most High was going to scatter Israel among all the nations, and everywhere those Israelite men went, they will have them produce children, and that's why Israel can and will look like all the other nations, but they go back to the bloodline. According to the Bible, man, they go back to their father's bloodline. They're Israelites. It says, "And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee." See, that's the rulers, and we've just read, in the First Chronicles 16:13, how it said rulers. It spoke of rulers. When it spoke about those chosen ones. Let's get Genesis 28:14. "And in thy seed," let's get the word seed again, "descendants shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee, in thy seed, shall all the families of the earth be blessed." This is the Most High speaking to Jacob. Out of Jacob came the 12 tribes. Those same 12 tribes are mentioned in the book of Revelation, man. And also in that same chapter, if I'm not mistaken, uh, it also speaks of a multitude, a mixed multitude of men from every nation. And that's speaking of Israelite people. That's not speaking of the Lord loving every nation or giving that blessing to every nation, because as we read the scriptures, the covenant is an everlasting covenant. So I'm gonna run that back again. It says, "And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth," verse 14, "and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south." And when it says thou shalt spread abroad, that means his descendants, Israel shall spread abroad, because Jacob's name was later changed to Israel. And thee and thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest. And I will bring thee again to this land, for I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. So there was a promise made not only to him, but to his descendants. Let's get Revelation, the 7th chapter. This is Revelation 7. Let's see here. This speaks of, first of all, let's start with the 12,000 men out of each of the 12 tribes of Israel, which we call the 144,000. And it also speaks of a great multitude. And we just read in Genesis 28 about how the descendants of Abraham were going to be spread abroad in all directions upon the earth. And that's where you get that mixed multitude, or that great multitude. It said, after this to be held alow a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and peoples and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, and cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our power which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. So that's what it's speaking of, man. It's speaking of Israelites. It's speaking of the bloodline descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, according to the promise, according to the covenant. So that does away with replacement theology, and only Israelite men can hold the office of prophet and priest. The older nation can hold that office. They can pretend to it and they can act like it, but in all reality, they are false teachers and false prophets. It's get Exodus 19th chapter. This is Exodus 19 and 5. And it says, I'll just start at verse 4. It says, Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, how I bare you on eagle's wings and brought you into myself. This is the Most High speaking. And I think he's talking to Moses, yeah. It says, Now therefore you obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant. These shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. A peculiar treasure, let's get the word peculiar. A special treasure, let's get the word treasure. It says possession, property, treasure, valued property. There's other scripture where it talks about, let's see if I can find it. This is Malachi 3:17, and this is speaking about, more specifically, the elect, ultimately all the nation of Israel. And they shall be mine, says the Lord of hosts, in that day when I make up my jewels. Special treasure. We just read in Exodus, speaking about the shows of peculiar treasure. And I will spare them as a man spares his own son that serves him. Then shall return the discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serves Yahweh and him that serves him not. So the point of it is, when I make up my jewels, I will spare them as a man spares his own son. Let's go back to Exodus. It says a peculiar treasure. And we just broke out the word treasure, and it speaks about, of something that's precious, valued property. And jewels are they're a valued possession. When you have a jewel, it's a valued possession. Let's go back to the scripture. Back in Exodus, Malachi 13 and 17, you look at the word jewels, it means special treasure. Get the word jewels. Possession, property. See, so it means the same thing. So that glory is only for the Israelites, which consists of so-called Black, Latino, and Native American. Let's get 1 Peter 2 and 8, because it also touches on that too. 1 Peter 2 and 8. So this is right here, 1 Peter 2 and 8. But ye are a chosen generation. Just speaking of the Israelites, Israelite man, first and foremost. So 1 Peter 2 and 9 says, But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation. That word holy means separate, so a separate nation. Peculiar treasure. This is how these scriptures all fit together. It says, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who has called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. And what's that darkness? That darkness is one of the darknesses is not knowing who we are. Being taking on the ways of the Gentiles or the heathens. So which in time past we're not a people. Why? Because we have been discontinued from our heritage, and we've been taught false ideologies and philosophies by the devil, which is AKA the so-called white man. It says which had now obtained mercy, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. So that's speaking of the Israelites first and foremost, man. So look at another scripture that proving that the Israelites are a chosen people, the bloodline descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And how do we know we are the bloodline descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? We know it by the Spirit, and we know by we by faith. Abraham's faith was counted righteousness. So let's get Deuteronomy 7:6. For thou art a holy, that means separate, set apart people unto the Lord thy power. Lord thy power. So if you set something apart, then it's not the same as everything else. And that's what Christianity, white plantation Christianity, more specifically, failed to realize. So for thou art a holy, a set apart people, Lord thy power. The Lord thy power has chosen thee to be a special people. Let's get the word people. Treasure. We went into that word treasure. Unto himself above all people that are upon the face. Above all people. So if there's a number one, then not everybody can be number one. There's a saying that says not everybody can be number one. So the Most High has a nation, a group of people on the top of the list, and they're above all people that are upon the face of the earth, the rest of the nations. The Lord did not set his love upon you nor showed you because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people, but because the Lord loved you, because he will keep the oath, and that oath was everlasting. We read about that oath, that covenant, that promise, we read about the Most High speaking to Jacob and to Abraham. It says, because the Lord loved you, because he would keep the oath which he has sworn unto your fathers, has the Lord brought you out of with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Now therefore, know therefore that the Lord thy power, he is a power, the faithful power which keep his covenant, See that? Which keep his covenant. And we read about that covenant with that promise. It says that mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 of generations, and repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. So if he loves everybody, then how's he gonna? Then what? Then he can't be justified in destroying people. Then, but the thing about it, the Most High has enemies, and you can read about that in Psalm the 83rd chapter. It says that he will not be slack to him that hateth him; he will repay them to his face. So that's what it is, man. Let's get one more scripture. Psalms 135th chapter. This Psalms 135 and 4, and it says 135:4 says, for the Lord has chosen Jacob unto himself. And Jacob is talking about his descendants as a whole, and Israel for his peculiar treasure. See how that ties in together? For I know the Lord is great, and the Lord is above all gods. Whatsoever the Lord pleased, that he did in heaven and in earth and in seas and all deep places. He causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He makes lightnings for the rain. He bringeth the wind out of his treasuries. So the point of it was that Jacob, Israel, is a peculiar chosen people to the Most High, and that's just the way it is, man. We went through a few scriptures, and you can clearly see that the Lord is a keeper of a covenant, and he has a chosen people, and that's just the way it is. But with that being said, it's a real quick lesson. Most I will, and it was edifying. So I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Brothers, keep on pushing. Shalom.